Hi, hello. This is the Witch's Lair, and I'm Haley, for those of you who don't know. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about women's circles because, as mentioned in previous episode, it's the biggest part of who I am. Well, second biggest. I am a mother to an 11-year-old, so. But outside of those responsibilities, it is my passion. It's exactly something that just speaks to from my soul. But I started doing Daughters of the Moon 3 years ago. I know I mentioned that before, but we're coming up on year 4. I'm really excited. We're doing Smashing of the Plates as our traditional annual January meetup, where we get together and we talk about what we do not want to bring and refuse to bring into the new year. And so everybody writes down on plates what they're letting go of, and then we go out my front driveway and smash them. And it's very liberating and it's a lot of fun. But I heard about women's circles somewhere along on my path and all my readings and interactions with other spiritualists. And it's something very old, women gathering in circle. It's been something that's our ancestors did, going very far back. And there's something very special about it when women gather. Before there were books and before there were experts and there were rules, women sat in circles. They told truths, they listened, they witnessed one another through grief, birth, joy, becoming. Um, it wasn't spiritual fluff. It was regulation. It was survival and, wisdom passed from body to body, us all sharing experiences and leaning on each other. There's just something that's very just divinely pure, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. It's just so fascinating and beautiful and sacred. It's just very, very sacred. When women gather like they do today, something starts. A change starts, whether it be with just ourselves or all of us as a collective. But I feel like with Women's Circle and stepping into the space with other women in this way, it's not feral, it's not reckless, it's just deeply rooted, it's instinctual, and it's powerful. There's a quote that I heard a while back. It was a woman speaking at a wedding, and she was talking about, like, when you get married, don't forget your girlfriends. Don't forget your girls, because those are the people that your lover, your husband, your spouse, your significant other is always going to be there for you. But it's not always consistent. And your friendships are, your girls are. And so you never want to forget that. And I think Women's Circle is just a nice reminder of that, those connection, those sacred, link ups, if you will, between women. Cause women's circles aren't, just coming back through markets and trends. They're coming back through need. We need it. Us women need it. With a lot of political things that are going on, and have always been going on with our rights and our bodies, being life sources that nurture and give. We need each other. We need these circles, and you don't hear about them that often online. I think that I'm starting to see more movement online, and that's how I got everybody in Daughters of the Moon was online. It started there, and then it's, well, I have a friend and I have a friend. Because they're happening in living rooms and backyards and kitchens and places where women feel safe to exhale. And so, it's not this spiritual fluff. It's not something that's just like being broadcasted, like it would be like a gym, going to work out at a gym. It doesn't work that way. It's something more sacred. It's intimate. It's a tiny container of love and understanding. But, I feel like we're seeing more of Women's Circle. I'm hearing more about them. I recently ran into somebody, they were telling me about one that was happening in Vegas, and I'm in Texas, and I'm like, love to see it. And I love to hear the different styles in them, because they're not all the same. It always goes back to who facilitates them and how they navigate them. So how I do mine and how someone in Vegas is doing theirs is two totally different things, but they're all completely just sacredly beautiful in their own ways. But it's just something that we're not really inventing anything new. We're just remembering our ancestral patterns and the things that they did before, because, long before there were therapy offices and self-help TikToks and frameworks, women sat in circles and they told their truth about their lives. And That's where it all started. And even if it's not a full circle with this like monthly meetup, it's just you and your friends sitting around a dining room table, enjoying a cup of coffee while the kids are playing. Or it's, sitting with your mom and your grandmother at dinner and, sharing that space with them and hearing their life experiences while you explain yours and the support of them showing up when you have a new baby and you're in the freaking trenches because you're 2 weeks into a newborn, it's your first one, and you don't know your ass from your head, but women show up and they help and they dial in and they do the dishes and they bring a freaking casserole, or they bring you a mom bucket where it has like all the little, pads and cooling, packs and whatever. Um, that's women's circle. It's not just us gathering once a month and I have a topic and we're going over it. Women's circle is the intimate exchange of women supporting one another. And not everybody that comes to circle recognizes themselves as a woman. They recognize themselves as, a they, them, but the divine, feminine, nurturing spirit is in them. And they want to give and they want to nurture and they want to give back and they want to be there for other women while women are there for them too. So I think that there's just something so sacred to women gathering, whether it be in a community sense or just going over to your girlfriend's house at 5 a.m. because she's been up all night and you brought her coffee and you freaking hold the baby while she goes and takes a shower and has 10 minutes of quiet. That's women's circle, So it's just something that touches deeper. But, a lot of women's circle is as women coming in and I hear often when we do the actual, meetings here, not just the intimates with your friends, but when I meet new people and they come into the circle, they often think that they're broken and they're not. I just think our nervous systems are freaking tired, and there's just not support to address the things that hurt deep, because we're going to go through a lot of painful experiences, and women or male, whoever you are, we're all going through that. And having the support of somebody with you and not feeling alone is a big, big deal. And I'm really recently being pulled to acknowledge people's solidarity in isolation more than solidarity, because I feel like solidarity is a word that's used to say that I chose to be alone, where isolation is, forced. It's crazy how isolated people can be. And whether it be in just emotional isolation, physical too, there's a shortcoming. And when we start feeling supported and we feel acknowledged and we feel like somebody's sharing space with us, it makes it easier to navigate the feelings that we have and the experiences that we're going through. And, we've been taught for so long how to self-regulate and process alone and heal alone and call that strength. And it is. It is, because you're talking to Queen Crab Shell here. My sun, my Mercury, my moon, as mentioned in the past episode, all are in a crustacean, if you will. I don't think a Scorpio is a crustacean. Don't correct me, to my marine bestie. I know she's listening. But they have that hard shell, the Cancer crab, it's a crab shell. The Scorpio is a defensive with its little stinger up. I know what it means to be alone and to be to yourself. And there's still a big preference with that for me. I still prefer to process things alone, but there's something special about it now and easier about it now because I can process alone. And then when I'm ready, I can go and share with my friends. And when I bring it to my friends and they're still correcting me all the time of just like, I lead with, I'm sorry, I closed off, but this is what's going on. Or, hey, I'm doing this thing and I don't know if you're going to really support it. And when I say I'm doing this thing, I'm not talking about I'm not doing hard drugs. I'm just like, I had a friendship that misaligned and we got into a mix up, or I had a boyfriend that we, broke up, or now I kind of want to get back together with. Like, those past experiences I've gone through, and I avoid my friends because I'm taught to handle it alone. And I'm also fearful of their judgment. But I get around my women's circle. I get around my friends because my friends are part of the women's circle. They're one and the same because, hey, women's circle is to make friends. But I come to them with that energy and they're like, hey, man, shut up. It's not like that. We would never judge you. We might not favor it because we love you and we're defensive of you because we want to protect you because we love you. But if this is what you're going to do, we trust that you are of sound mind, body, and soul. Figure it out. Let us know. We're here. And, I find that just so sacred. And I think that's something that's so needed because so many people don't have it, and their struggles come because of that alone, of just not having support, or the support that they have isn't real support because they bring them stuff and it gets shot down, or it gets a snide comment, or it gets just some shitty energy. And I feel like that's the downfall of so much in human existence, is the lack of just compassion, not empathy. Empathy lacks boundary. Compassion, sharing space, and acknowledging other people and where they're coming from, and that we're all freaking kids. At the end of the day, I don't care if you're 35, you're 45, you're 60, we're children. We're all children. We're figuring it out as we go. We're children raising children, you know? And most people are navigating from wounds, and a lot of people want to not navigate from wounds, and we do get better about it. And it's not always like that, but majority of people are. And so, and again, it's going back to not being supported and not being loved and not being cared for. Women's Circle is giving that. It gives that baseline foundation of like, while I might not know you, who I'm sitting next to, you just saying like, hey girl, I feel that. Girl, I fucking feel that. There's something that comes from those moments where we exhale a little bit and our shoulders relax a little bit. And we're just like, you know what? Word. Right. Thanks. You're right. You know what? It's not abnormal. My life isn't some unique doomsday. It's life. You did it. I went through it. Most of us go through the same shit. And it's just nice to have somebody that's mutual with us. So, you know, our bodies soften, our breaths deepen when these things happen, when women gather safely, our nervous systems co-regulate. And it's not just spiritual, it's biological. I mean, you know, circles work because the body remembers how to settle when we're not alone. And that's very, very big to me. But with Women's Circle, you know, it seems that it's women who are seeking depth, not noise. You know, we have a lot of noise in our life, and we're looking for something that's a little bit deeper, a little bit more real. We're not just looking for information, we're just looking for depth. And I feel like so many people are tired of like hot takes and quick fixes and surface level empowerment. Um, and a lot of people talk about, what is that, positive, where positive can actually be a negative because it's just like toxic positivity, excuse me. Yeah. That's, a lot of people feel that because they're like, you're not giving me depth with this. You're just giving me, oh girl, you can handle it. Go through it. Yeah, girl, handle it. You got this. The power is within you. I am literally dying right now emotionally. And you're sitting here just telling me, yeah, you got it, girl. The power is within you. Like I can't I can't work with that. Like, I can't use that. What the fuck is that going to do for me? I'm over here suffering. I'm in the fucking trenches, and you're over here being like, you got it, girl. It's like that keep calm, carry on poster. You know, it's just like, I'm staring at that, and what the fuck is it supposed to do for me? I got $2 to my fucking name right now. My kid won't stop crying. He hasn't shit right in 3 days. My bills are past due. I can't get through the laundry. The dishes are piling high. And all the while, I'm hating myself. And you're going to sit there and tell me, girl, you got this. Get it, girl. Yeah, fuck that. That doesn't do shit for me. And that's why Women's Circle works, because it's depth. It's real. It's not just, oh yeah, girl, you got it. It's, girl, that fucking sucks. Oh my God. I remember when this happened to me in that way, or I can help here, or, and it's not even just fixing it. We're not here to fix your problems. We're here to support them. It's, I was sitting in circle, and, later that week I was reflecting on, whoever, and they were going through this situation. I'm going to text them and check in. I'm going to run by and drop off some food at their house, whether they like it or not. They're getting a rotisserie chicken. All right. Some Bob Evans potatoes, just those small little gestures of thinking of each other and supporting one another, and knowing that I can't fix your problems. I can't, I'm not going to be able to. She's not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to, but I can sit with you during them. I can share space with you. I can share a meme or a laugh or share a burden, because one burden shared is a less of a burden. It's a half a burden. All right. So I just feel like with Women's Circle, we're really looking for that support. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for depth. It feels slower, it's quieter, but it's more honest, It's not big and showboaty. Like I said, it's not me in the circle going, you know what? I got it. Fixed all your problems. It's like, no, it's later. when I see a meme that I think you'd enjoy and I send it to you, or I text you to check in just to make sure that you're getting out of your head and changing up your perspective, because we get in these loops of anxiety and it's like, can someone just throw me a freaking bone, a thought, spin the thought for me, or just be like, girl, that fucking sucks. That's all we need. So I feel like that's something rare, a space where nothing's needed to be performed and nothing needs to be proven. And this isn't about going backwards. It's about remembering what we lost and where we started doing everything alone in society. It's not, it's about remembering when we were more supportive of each other and there for each other. And I don't know if that comes with the social media, electronic, the industry boom of us being on our phones. I don't know if it comes from that, but I just know that we need to acknowledge it and we need to get back to it. We need to start reaching out. And even I know I'm bad about it. I'm bad about, checking in with my friends. I get so wrapped up in my head and my routines that I forget to text back. But I know that when I do circle back, they're there ready to hold me in grace and be like, dude, we get it. What have you been up to? What's been going on? And then I'm there matching them for step for step. What did I miss? What do you need? Where are you at? Did you check into this? I remember we were talking about this before. Where are you at on that? That's where care comes from. It's not texting every day, every evening, responding to all the group chats. It's that remembrance. Um, but yeah, so Women's Circle is just a regulated container. It's first and foremost a container, not an open field. We're not just out here spiraling together. It's regulated, it's intentional, and it's held with care. That regulation is what creates safety, and the safety is what allows honesty. And I really strive on that a lot with our Women's Circle. We have our heart leader roles where when you come in, you get a name tag and there's a heart sticker. If you put the heart sticker on, it means that you've been here. You're someone who's safe, that you can talk to, who can point things out. Oh, this is how the flow of it goes. This is where you can put your purse, the food, the activity, whatever we're doing. That's, the regulation of it all. Because without that regulation, without the container, emotions spill. With a container, the emotions move. They have a place to navigate. They have a direction. So we don't hold chaos, we hold capacity. And that's something I'm constantly reminding everybody of, like, hey, don't forget the purpose of this is like, we need to direct, we need to do something. We're not just here to spill. We're here to acknowledge and move. So intentional. Because, it's about shared presence, not shared advice. I'm not just here to tell you what to do. And there's been times in circles where someone gets what I call the stick of support, which is a stick that I located in Sam Houston Forest, and I decorated, and we pass around. And when you have the stick of support, you get to talk. And we've had girls before just to set a boundary and be very clear. I'm not asking you to fix me. In this moment when I share, if everyone could just acknowledge me, that's all I would need. I love that. I love that so much. I love the sister who did that, because it's a reminder that, we're not here to fix you, and you're not here to be fixed, because you're not broken. It's just, this is a situation. This is, presence is the medicine most of us never received. Presence. Sharing space. So when someone is fully present with you, your body knows that you're not alone anymore, and it makes it easier to breathe. It makes it easier to share. It makes it easier to acknowledge what happened and release what happened, and to move forward with a good perspective. So, that's when truth rises, not because it's forced, but because it's allowed. So, and with the circle, sorry guys, in a true women's circle, um, there is no hierarchy. I said this in my last episode, and I'll probably repeat it many times. No one above, no one below. And we use that term a lot: as above, so below, as within, so without. And in a women's circle, no one is above, no one is below. I'm not your high priestess. I'm not the queen bee. I call myself a circle lead, because I am leading it. I am guiding it. I am navigating it. But I just don't think that, there's no space in that container for authority. Guardian, yes. A guide, sure. But a hierarchy, no. Because it's just, we're all in the same boat. You might think I'm ahead. I'm not. Who defines who's ahead and who's behind, and how that looks and what that shapes to be? I mean, that's just such bullshit to me. There's no way to measure that. What I might be ahead in and you might be behind in. It might be the other way around. That's something else that you're ahead in that I'm behind in. So we can't compare it that way. The circle, the container, it's not going to thrive with that type of mentality. And that's what makes it safe. That's what makes it honest, that it's not horizontal. It's not vertical. It's a freaking circle. And we're just twirling, because there's no fixing. Because in hierarchy, it would be like, I'm above you and I'm giving you stuff to fix you and make you like me. That's not it. I'm not here to fix you. There's no fixing in a women's circle. We can't. You're not broken. I can't say it enough. You're not freaking broken. Stop it. You're not broken. There's no advice that should be given to you unless it's asked for. And you can say that, and people read energy. It's not like you have to be like, I'm asking for advice on this or don't give me advice on this, but the energy speaks for itself. And I try to navigate circle as much as I can, to keep it controlled to where people aren't overstepping boundaries. It is hard. It is hard being a circle lead and finding a way to tell people like, hey, if someone's talking, don't talk. Give them a minute to get all their thoughts out and then reply to them in a way that's supportive, not showboaty comparison. It is hard. I have to say it's one thing that I feel I struggle with most with running Daughters of the Moon is finding the balance between making sure that every single person is seen, held, heard, and validated in the way that they need to be, but also not controlling the members around in the same way, because I can't hold you and control you. It's just not right. So it is something that I'm trying to find every single circle way to express of like supporting one another in that way, because we all have that drive too, but when we're wrapped up in the moment and the busyness of the circle, sometimes those lines get blurred. And there's no solutions unless they're invited. Fixing can feel helpful, but it's often a way to avoid sitting with discomfort, because most of the time, most of our incidents in life aren't about fixing it. It's just about sitting in it, sitting in the discomfort, whatever that may be, sitting in the discomfort of being alone while you're trying to navigate to find the person who will be your life partner and will support you and make you feel seen, heard, and validated. Or it's, this discomfort of navigating certain things alone because you haven't found the friends that you want to find yet that honor you as a person and who don't belittle you. So you're sitting in the discomfort of going through life while you're trying to find those people. There's not always fixing it. Sometimes it's just discomfort. We lost a soul. We lost a person. You have to sit in the discomfort of that grief. No one can fix that grief. It'll get easier to manage as you move along. But most of the time, that's all we're meant to do is just to sit in it. And that is really shitty. And I hate it too, but that's life. But Women's Circle is really about saying, I see you and I trust your capacity. That's a big part of being, in relationships, is just having people around you who say, hey, I trust that you're doing the right thing. I trust that you are a smart person, because I'm not friends with dumb people. You're not dumb. I know that you are trying to navigate things at your highest divine good. And I trust that. I see that. So share with me and let's navigate it together. Women's Circle isn't about healing someone. It's about creating a space where healing can happen naturally. And that's a real big part of Daughters of the Moon, because, the circle is not about trauma dumping without responsibility. A women's circle is not a place to unload everything with no awareness of impact. And we do struggle with that in past members who don't come around anymore, because trauma dumping isn't healing. It's dysregulating for, both the speaker and the listener. And I've never had somebody trauma dump in such a situation that I had to address it and be like, hey, you're coming in and you're trauma dumping and you're not doing anything about it, because I can't control when you heal that. But as people come through and they use the circle in that way and they just like spew all that they're doing circle after circle, but they don't change anything, they don't try and make it better, they start to get unaligned with the circle, because we're going to repeat the same things. You have a problem. How do you fix it? Okay, you're not fixing it. You don't need my advice to fix it, but how are you going to take care of yourself? Are you just going to sit in the miserable forever and just be miserable? What are we going to do to try and be better? And so they start getting misaligned with us and they stop coming around, because they know that they're not fixing things and they know that they're just coming to suffer. And nobody wants to be around friends who just suffer. We know that there are some things that are going to take time to regulate, but it's an acknowledgement of them and not a disregard of them. And I think that's really important. In a true circle, we speak from awareness and not overwhelm, because sharing is sacred. But so is, the containment of it all. And responsibility doesn't mean silence. It means knowing how to share in a way that honors his faith. So, depth doesn't require destruction. We can come in and share and navigate our lives without just being like, woe is me all the time, because there are people who will not fix their problems. I'm not going to fix it, but you need to fix it. And you're just going to be miserable forever, because that's really not what life is meant to be. It's not to just suffer forever. There has to be something that we can do to come around it, to live a happier life, a more regulated life, a calm, peaceful life. But it's a big part of the responsibility of this. Because, Women's Circle is not about subtle competition. It's not about who's the most wounded and who's the most healed and who's the most spiritual and who's got the most intuition and my third eye this and my chakra that. It's not that. It's true sisterhood that doesn't compare scars or accomplishments. It's, you know, comparison is a trauma response. It's not a connection tool. And when competition leaves the room, honesty finally enters. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. I think we speak from shadows and we think that, somebody's trying to one up one another. I've actually experienced that, where I go into other circles outside of Daughters of the Moon, because I love leading Daughters of the Moon, but I love being a spectator too. I love being a member and not leading and just embracing the spiritual in the moment. And I've gone to events where we share and we interact. And I've had people before say that they thought that I was trying to take the spotlight and I was talking over people and I was boasting. But when we look at the dialogue that was being had, it's like I was just sharing, and the person I was sharing with didn't think I was walking over them at all. They wanted to hear what I said. They enjoy my thoughts. Where are we speaking from in our wounds that we feel that we have to compare? Because it's just not a connection tool. It's just negative, it's taking from other people and belittling them and putting them down to make us feel like we're above them. And again, no one above, no one below. So there's no competition within the circles. And, we're not trying to do spiritual bypassing. It's not a place to skip the hard feelings when I say that, because I know I'm saying, oh, don't trauma dump and, you know, no comparison. It's not that. There's just a balance in our communication and our expressions. You know, we don't do love and light our way around grief, anger, and truth. And that goes back to what I was saying before, where I don't resonate with just Wicca in my path, because love and light, beautiful, love the blessing, love it when someone says they're sending me love and light, but we can't love and light our way out of grief. And we can't tell people that are grieving that. We can't just be like, oh, love and light. It's thoughts and prayers, love and light. It's not a way to hold people in a space when they're in that energy of grief and anger and truth. Spiritual bypassing asks us to be positive before we're honest. And, circles ask for honesty first, and compassion naturally will flow from that. And, real healing includes shadow, discomfort, contradiction, pointing out our own flaws. I said this, I did that. I love accountability. If I screw up, because I am human, I'm going to screw up. I'm going to misspeak. I'm going to share a thought that probably hurt your feelings. I'm going to say things. I'm going to do things. Self-sabotage is huge. Those things are going to happen. No one's perfect. We try not to be. And as we get older, it gets a little bit easier. But, real healing is acknowledging that. Sitting in a circle and being like, yeah, I did this. I did that. I own it. And now I feel mad, and now I'm grieving because I did that to myself. It's just the honesty of it all and being real. We can only meet you as much as you've met yourself. And if you're not meeting yourself at your core truth, you're not meeting yourself at all. So that's a big part of a women's circle, is showing up and and just being real with it, because it's not about aesthetics. It's not about performative spirituality. It's not a women's circle is not a performance. We're not here to scream and cry and throw on this big hoopla, dramatic, whatever the spiritual clout. It's none of that. That's not what women's circle is. You don't need to show up dressed a certain way, speak in a certain way, using certain words. Like, people think that they have to come in a women's circle and they're dressed like Stevie Nicks and they need to know all about the 12th house and the ruling sign of a Mars, transit, whatever aspect. Oh, dark night of the soul. I know all these terms. It's not, it's not that at all. It's showing up in your freaking sweats and a big t-shirt and just showing up as you are today. If you decide to, and I've had girls like that, where one girl comes in and she's in a baggy shirt and baggy pants and her messy bun, and then another girl comes in and she's dressed like a literal fairy and she has on wings, and they're sitting in the same circle. And you turn to the one dressed to the nines and you say, "Why'd you pick that outfit today?" "I've been wanting to wear it. I've been wanting to put this whole thing together and I had nowhere to put it, but I knew I could put it here." "Awesome. Holy crap, you look so cool. Did you make the wings yourself? You did your own makeup? Oh my God." That's the same circle. And you turn to the girl who's in, you know, her messy bun and her shirt stained and she looks like she's thriving on caffeine and hope. And you're just like, "Hey girl, how's it going?" And she's like, "I'm just happy that I made it here. I needed this. I just need to sit here." And oh my God, did you see that girl's wings? Holy crap, that was cool. She made it out of wire hanger and cellophane or whatever it is. That's the realness. It's not performative. It's not, she came in and she looked like something out of a spa magazine and she smelled of Nang Chapa and that girl has it all. And she, felt everybody's auras. And it's not that. It's cool if somebody's like that. Love to see it. But that's not the purpose of the circle. If you come in like that, love to see it. But the purpose of the circle is just to show up as you need to show up. And it's not about looking healed or sounding wise. It's, boundaries aren't limitations. They're what make depth possible. That's what it's about. Boundaries, turning inward, owning ourselves. It's not about looking healed or sounding like we know, you know, whatever the terminology might be of the spirituality, whatever. It's none of that. You don't have to know any of that crap. Just know yourself, because the most powerful moments in circle are often quiet, simple, and unpolished. They're real. It's our third circle of the year, and this member showed up again, and they didn't talk the first two circles, and on the third circle, they spoke. That's what circle is. Feeling the trust, feeling the comfort. Authenticity is often, to me, I just feel like it's always going to outweigh aesthetics when you're being real, because a real women's circle doesn't create freedom by removing structure. It creates freedom by making a structure and sitting together and saying like, "Hey, in this structure, this is what we honor. This is what we want to see." And it's okay to show up baggy eyes and crying your eyes out and upset. And it's okay to show up and be like, "Girl, I am just living it." That's the structure that we're making. That's the foundation that we're standing on, of perfect love, perfect trust, of to honor us and each other in any way that we show up. It's not aesthetic. It's not performative. So, everything I've been talking about, safety, regulation, witnessing, that's, what creates space for a woman to stand in her power. And standing in your power is just really, really important. It's all what I do. I often talk about the untamed wild woman, and how much that plays a part in spirituality. And that's what I mean when I say the untamed wild woman. This is where power comes in. It's not loud, but grounded. It's self-trusting power. Self-trusting that this is what I'm going through and that I know I can navigate it. Sorry, guys, my first sneeze on camera. That's hilarious. But self-trusting power. A big part of why Women's Circle is so powerful is because we remind women to choose themselves again, to, choose their power, to speak it, to own it, to stand up and to be like, "This is who I am, unapologetic." And so when I talk about the untamed wild woman, I'm really talking about self-trust. And you're going to hear that a lot when I talk about the craft and Women's Circle is standing in self-power. your untamed self, untamed outside of, emotional required regulations by society that say you have to do this and you have to be that. It's like, no, this is who I am, raw and wild, and this is where, I stand in my power without needing permission. Wild in the sense that doesn't mean unhinged, it means unowned. Standing in power is part of what happens in women's circles, that we remember how to choose ourselves. It's not selfish, it's honest. And I honestly think selfish is actually needed. Be selfish. It's your life, yours alone. You get one shot and that's it. Be selfish, be for yourself, and be honest, because standing in your power often looks really simple. It looks like trusting your no's and honoring your yeses, and no longer abandoning yourself to keep the peace. That's a big part of being untamed, and standing in your power, and owning who you are, and walking as your divine self, is because you're no longer abandoning yourself just to keep peace, because so many of us will do that. I did that for the longest time. I can recount so many memories where I'm in an incident and I'm talking to somebody and I feel the words in my throat, right there in my throat chakra, and I cannot get it out, and I'm just like agreeing, and it's like, what the fuck for? Why are we doing this? For what? For them? Like, yeah, that's all great, but what about you? What about yourself? What about me? You need to advocate for yourself like you advocate for your kids, for your friends, for your dog, but part of what happens in women's circles is that we're reminded to choose how to choose ourselves and how to go about that. And it's just a really big part of what we do, is to believe in ourselves, to believe in our magic. It's, magic isn't about rituals or aesthetics. It's about self-trust. Self-trust, self-trust, self-trust. Believing in your magic means believing your intuition matters. It means trusting your inner knowing, even when it's inconvenient. The kind of belief that changes how you move through the world. There's so much that people do or end up in situations because they disregard themselves, and they disregard their gut feeling, that primal instinct. And that puts them in these situations where they're suppressing themselves. And it's really upsetting, because it's like, just say it. Fuck it. Say it. Like, what's going to hurt? Yeah, it might hurt somebody's feelings, but like, it's going to hurt your feelings more to suffer uncomfortable. I'd rather be uncomfortable. Again, going back to sitting in discomfort, but women's circles don't just give you power, they reflect it back to you. And when other women, witness you choosing yourself, something locks into place. You remember, I'm allowed to trust myself. And it's not something that you just become this powerful person. It's when what's left of you stops betraying yourself. You get to these points where you're like, I'm so tired of being here. What do I do? How do I navigate it? How do I get out of it? You own it. You stand up a little bit taller and say, fuck that. I'm not doing that anymore. Don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to other people. You don't have to be shitty. Just no is a full sentence, and standing in that power does something. And when I witness another person doing that, it reflects back into me knowing that I can do that. And I get that from a lot of people, that they say like, well, I wasn't sure about this and I didn't come out of the broom closet for the longest time, but then I saw you posted about it on Facebook and you're sharing on Instagram or whatever, these tarot readings, astrology forecast, and I'm not saying that you have to be a witch too and to do all these things, but it's acknowledging somebody's being like, I don't care what society says about me doing this. I'm going to do it because I like it. Whether they listen to it or not, I do it because I enjoy it. So what aspects you want to step into in your life that you want to harness power and navigate through, but you haven't because you're worried about what people will say about you? When you see another person doing their thing, it's going to make you want to be able to do your own, because you see that, like, well, their life didn't catch on fire. So it must be okay. So let me try and see where it takes me. But that's the power that comes from Women's Circle, and that makes you step into that untamed wild woman aspect and wild person aspect of just, self-trust. It grows faster when there's safe reflection around you. So, with everything that I'm rambling about, from Women's Circle to being that untamed, powerful person, and the big energy that Women's Circle gives you stepping into that, you don't need to change who you are to belong in a space like Women's Circle or a coven, or whatever. You know, it's not about becoming louder. Or braver or more spiritual. They're about becoming more honest with yourself. It just starts there. Sure, if you become brave and louder, that's great. But it doesn't always resonate that for everybody. It's just being able to regulate a nervous system and breathe because we became more honest with ourselves and what we were navigating through. And, everything that we've talked about today, the safety, the witnessing, the lack of fixing, the remembering power, it's not about doing more, it's about doing less and disconnecting and doing less of what disconnects you from yourself. And choosing yourself doesn't always look dramatic. It's not always, again, none of this is performative. It's always quiet. It's always subtle. It's just the choice. And I think that sucks sometimes for us in the day that we're in now because everything is so performative. So we naturally think it's going to be this bam, and it's not. It's quiet. It's subtle. It's not dramatic. Sometimes, it just is rest. It's a quiet no. It's trusting that, the feelings that you have that you used to ignore. That's usually what it is. And believing in your magic doesn't mean believing you're special or above anybody else. It means believing that your inner knowing matters. That's the biggest thing with it. And that's why you always, allow yourself to trust yourself and allow to take up space honestly and however that may look. And, you're allowed to be held without being fixed. And it's, just standing in that and just owning like this is where I'm at and I can't fix it and you can't fix it, but just standing in it, standing in the discomfort, sharing it with others, opening up and being honest and real about this is my situation. This is where I'm at. This is what it is. This is what I'm going through. So be it. Owning that is power. And that's where it all starts. And that's where things get easier to navigate. And then, it's not always doom and coming. So if this episode stirred something in you, that doesn't mean that you need answers right now. It just means that there's something that you need to remember. And remembering doesn't always need to be rushed. It doesn't mean you need to know all the answers. It means that there's something internally that you want more of, and you need to start to find a way to show up for yourself, to find those answers, to find that healing, to navigate forward. So wherever you're at right now, I hope you take a breath. I hope you let yourself feel grounded in your own presence, because that's where the real work begins. Giving yourself grace and showing up. I hope you find a women's circle. I hope you find a circle of people that hold you with love and not judgment. Whether you make one yourself or you find one along the way, I just hope that you find those spaces because you deserve that. So until next episode, may the sun guide you and the earth ground you.